June 4th, 2020.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 4th meeting of the Property Committee. Pleased to have all of you with us today. Appreciate taking the time to attend with us, and hello to everyone watching us on the internets. First order of business, all members except for member Bluefield currently present and accounted for. Next item after roll call are approval of the minutes. I need a motion for approval of the minutes from April 21st of 2020, as well as our May 7th, 2020 meetings. We can, if it is it's Mr. Smith's pleasure, we can take both of those together. If you'd rather do them separate, that's fine.
What's the code?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, together. Okay, and a second? Second by member Johnston. Any corrections or discussion about the minutes? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from April 21st and May 7th of 2020 signify by putting your hand up. Okay, passes. Next up, this item is not on the agenda, but we're excited to have Sheriff Sandage joining us here today. We'll give him a minute to come on and get situated. Sheriff Sandage, hello.
Excited?
Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us at Property. The sheriff wanted to come on and just sort of give us an update about the current state of some of the facilities within the county's purview, and just sort of talk to us about some of the events that have been going on in recent days. So, Sheriff, I'll turn it over to you, and again, welcome to Property Committee.
Thank you. We're in good shape here, actually, for all of the activity that we've had here since Saturday. Only damage we've had is to a squad car that was parked and some protesters jumped on. Other than that, the building is in great shape. Protecting all that has come at a price. We've since Saturday, we've logged probably over 300 hours of overtime. Just dealing with protest and protecting the building. But besides a lot of guys being tired, working a lot of hours, we're in very good shape, given what could happen.
Yeah, that's great. Well, any questions for the sheriff in matters pertaining to county facilities or property at all? Member Johnston, can you hear me?
I can. Sorry, I'm getting my audio on.
Okay. This will be so much easier when we can actually gather together in person.
I know. Just a quick question about how are we doing on capacity? And I'm assuming that we're still trying to observe as much distancing as possible.
In reference to what?
Just for inmates in the prison.
Oh, inmates, we're still on lockdown status. We had looked at possibly lifting that soon, but honestly, as long as we've got protests going on around the facility, I don't feel comfortable doing that. The protesters purposely are trying to rile up the inmates. So it's best that we stay on lockdown status until we know that we're past these protests.
No follow-up question?
Well, I just wanted to make sure that like we still have enough capacity to keep people separated for safety purposes, for as far as transmission of potential virus.
Absolutely, we still have plenty of room. Although our population has risen here in the past few days with the arrest of several looters, we still have more than enough room to be able to distance them and keep them safe.
Anyone else? Okay, Sheriff, anything else you'd like to share?
No, thank you. You guys come up with any questions, feel free to email me.
A personal comment, if I may. I know it's been a pretty intense few days for you and for the other departments in the community as with all the events that have been going on, and just really thank you for your service and the dedication of you and your staff during all this.
Thank you. I will pass it on. I appreciate that.
Thank you for coming by property. All right, next item on the agenda. Mr. Doherty, our facilities director, looks like you have an item for action and committee approval. 4A1A, request to accept bid and enter into a contract for a cooler replacement at the coroner's department. Let's get this on the floor, and then I'll let you give us an overview of it. A motion to accept by Member Smith, second by Member Johnston. All right, Mr. Doherty, please, you have the floor. Tell us all about the cooler replay. I know you guys opened bids the other day.
Yes, we did. And I received probably about 15 hits on the county website for prospective bidders. And when all that shook down, I had 3 that arrived for the mandatory pre-bid meeting. And then out of that 3, I had 2 that actually submitted bids. So at this point, I was pleased to receive those 2 bids. I wish I could have produced a 3rd one, but it's the way it is. US Mechanical was the low bidder at $109,513. And they have been the ones that have, prior to my arrival here at the county, they have been servicing that equipment. So I'm very pleased that they were the low bidder. A little bit of the scope on the project is we plan to obtain a rental unit, and hopefully it will squeeze under the Sallyport area, the South Sallyport, and that'll give the corner cooler capacity at somewhat while we are demoing the existing case and putting in all new. So,
and for the benefit of anybody who may be watching this, we're not talking about the refrigerator and the freezer and the break room or something like this.
oh no, no, sir. We are talking about the walk-in cooler and freezer. Thank you. It's in pretty bad shape. Mechanics, it's 1988 vintage, came original with the expansion. And so what this is going to detail is removing all the existing refrigeration equipment, removing the case panels, replacing the sprinkler heads, and then erecting a new case walls, ceiling, floor, and brand new refrigeration equipment. Plus an added feature that's going in with the new project that we don't have now is an alarm system that have the capability of dialing a cell phone or pretty much whatever you want it to do. It's a Wi-Fi network connected system. So we'll have around the clock coverage of the temperatures and any notices of any equipment failures. So I'm anxious to get started with it.
All right, any questions from the committee? Mr. Smith?
Is the rental included in that cost, or is that a separate cost?
That's going to be a separate cost.
Okay, and is that going to be bid out separately?
I've got 2 quotes in my project folder for that. It's I could share those with the committee if you'd like.
Yeah, in an email or whatever works.
Okay, sure.
Well, I think of those dollar amounts under a certain threshold, they normally just require the administrator's approval. And if the committee is interested, for their interest, certainly. Any other questions? Mr. Doherty, do you, I'm sorry, go ahead, Vice Chair Beard.
Apologize. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Was this on our capital improvements budget? I'm sorry, I didn't have it readily available. Was this one of the items that we had anticipated?
Yes, it was. It was budgeted at for this period.
And if I may, Chairman Barnett, I would add that there are several capital projects even now during our concerns about the budget with COVID in our lives now that we have asked, department heads to pause on. This particular project really can't take that pause. I can recall early on in my tenure 1 year ago, having to deal with several phone calls over the summer, especially when this particular freezer and cooler could not keep up with the heat outside, and Mr. Doherty and his staff having to make several repairs to it. And so it was our hope that this year we would get ahead of the hot weather and the challenges that we face in keeping this particular current freezer cooler operating. Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that, Ms. Rodriguez. And it took me a minute to pull up where we had budgeted. We had a need. We put it in the improvement project, capital improvement plan. We budgeted 115 for that. So that's this is a great example of planning ahead and having it work correctly in a way that is deferring, that is actually lowering costs if we would have put this off. So I appreciate that response. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Doherty, and if you already mentioned it, my apologies. How long do you think it's going to take from beginning to end?
I'm estimating it's going to be approximately a month to 2 months.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? All right. Well, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor of approving agenda item 4A1A, a request to accept bid and enter into a contract for cooler replacement at the Coroner's Department, please raise your hands. Those opposed? All right, motion passes. Mr. Doherty, the floor is yours for your facilities report.
Thank you very much. Okay. First topic is the animal shelter, and we completed sneeze guards at the front desk and counter as of this morning. So that project is finished. The government center, all cooling equipment has been serviced now. We're in good shape there. While we were servicing that, we discovered a small leak in the HVAC hydronic. This is the heating system. And we're currently evaluating that. We need to strip off some insulation and see what it's going to take to make that repair. This is probably something I'll contract out. The health department, I'm very pleased to announce that the elevator project is 100% complete. It passed all the state elevator inspections, and pretty quick here, we will be applying for our certificate. So the Kone elevator did an excellent job of that. I was very pleased with the two guys that were the lead on installing that project. Couldn't have gone better. The next item is we've completed repairs to 3 small potable water leaks. It took 2 Saturdays to get those done. We're in the process of wrapping up painting today in the dental clinic. It needed a much needed facelift. There's several gouges in the wall, and we are installing some plexiglass over the walls just to keep from having to do minor gouging and repairs again. And there's just been several routine maintenance items there. Juvenile Detention Center, it's the last to get on our cooling preseason equipment checkouts, but we're wrapping that one up here quickly. Law and Justice Center, last week we installed 64 linear feet of Lexan sneeze guards for the 4th floor of the circuit clerk's office. And we've discovered a piping leak. That's what these photos are. To the side, it's an old pipe chase that crawled up the side of one of the jail rec yards, And we believe that to be a source of a leak when it rains down in the booking area. So we've got scaffold out there, and we're going to attempt to take that out in-house with our own labor and demo those covers and the piping behind there. Metcom 911 Center. I finally threw in the towel over the low water pressure, and I found out I could obtain a water booster system, just a small system that was very economical. And we had that installed last week, and I'm happy to report the water pressure is up to 65, 70 PSI. So that one is behind us. The museum, the roof project, Administrator Rodriguez and myself met with Russell Franciscus regarding this roof project, and we have some dialogue going on with his firm. We are trying to complete the laboratory heater replacement project. This came up at the start of the COVID project, or COVID outbreak, I'm sorry. Realized that we had some little instantaneous under the lavatory type heaters that were not functioning. And so we purchased them and we're installing them ourselves, only to find out we didn't have adequate water flow. I brought in a plumber last week, and we've really found out that a lot of the pipes are blocked. They got blocked just from the water disturbance of turning water on and off to facilitate a better connection. We took out some piping that was feared to be blocked, and in fact it was blocked, and when we turned water back on, it kind of made conditions worse. The silver lining in this thing is there's 2 lavatories involved, and there are other water lines in the same lavatory room and the restrooms that we're going to tie into next week. So hopefully that will temporarily resolve that problem. The new jail annex, we had contractors in last week and replaced 2 failed pumps, plus they replaced the 3rd pump. There's 3 hot water heaters in the 1st floor of the basement for potable hot water, and so all water heaters have been replaced. That was a punch list item. Work continues with Farnsworth Group and River City and correcting problems with the HVAC controls, and many other routine breakdowns and maintenance items. And for personnel, I did have one maintenance worker position. A guy resigned back in May 22nd. So I have posted for that opening, and I have several applicants that I'm starting to sift through. That's all I have, Chairman.
Okay, any questions from the committee? Member Johnston?
Thank you. Just wanted to get a sense from, I know that we're reopening the Law and Justice Center. What is the process for like hand sanitizing? And is that going to be under facilities, or is that each department itself? Is it like under the circuit clerk budget, or is that something that property and facilities management will be covering?
Good question. That's under facilities management. Custodial department is handling that, plus individual departments are handling it as well. I don't want to make it sound like it's a double duty type thing, but maintenance is not really involved, other than we have hung some sanitizer dispensers. I think it's very well covered.
If I may, I would add that, Member Johnston, that when and if a department has to purchase more hand sanitizer than they did prior to the existence of COVID in our lives. We are also having those departments keep track of those expenses, and we're going to submit those to FEMA. That would also be the case for any of the sneeze guard installation that Mr. Doherty has spoken of. He and I shared the care a little bit, and there were other departments that wanted to order portable sneeze guards that wouldn't have to be directly installed into countertops or into the ceiling. And so I took the folder from him, and I assisted, and so did staff here. We all hands on deck ordered those, and we're definitely going to accommodate the needs of customer facing departments in that way, but we are going to keep track of those and submit those expenses in the hopes that we will get a reimbursement from FEMA. I hope that answered your question. I think that's what you were wondering, right? Okay.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Doherty.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
service to the county. Okay, I see Mr. Steffa. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome to property. I know we don't have any action items for Parks and Recreation this month, but I know you have some information to share with us. So I will give you the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good and bad news. The good news first. Last Friday, the campground and boat rental and bait shop reopened, and I can say we are doing a brisk business. So we do have revenue coming in. Both places are extremely busy. I think the closing of the swimming beach for the summer has driven some of the business to the boat rentals. So we did add a part-time seasonal staff member to handle that because we weren't able to get other duties done. So we have done that. We have put that person in place. I can say that last weekend, the campground was completely full. We are already booked up completely for this weekend. There are no campsites to be had. So I think people are eager to get out and recreate and just get out of the house and do something. So that's a positive. We are running, instead of one cleaning in the morning of facilities, we are doing 3, one in the beginning, one at right after lunch, and one we have moved one staff member, maintenance staff member is staying later, coming in later and staying later and cleaning the facility before he leaves. We are installing, we've built them. Tomorrow they go into place. Speaking of portable sneeze guards, we made some sneeze guards for the visitor center. The visitor center, I forgot to mention that too. The visitor center is open as well. So it's nice to have customers again. It's great to see people. So in that regard, so that's the good news. Okay. You want me to start with the bad news?
Oh, sure. Why not? Welcome to 2020.
Okay. Yesterday, it came to our attention. We've been having problems with our sewage treatment facility, our lagoon at the park. It takes waste matter in from the campground and the beach house facility. We do open the beach house restroom shower facility on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, no matter what. Even we've done this in the past for overflow for campers to use, as well as the restroom shower facility in the campground. So a few days back, we were having some problems with some sewage backup, and we've had, like I said, we've had this problem for, I think it's going on 5 years. Well, actually, I think it's been going on longer than that, but what I consider a real problem the last 4 to 5 years. So basically, approximately 4 years ago, we had a company come in. You may or may not know Kerry Zeschke, hard to say his last name. He's he does wastewater hauling, septic stuff. And we met with him, and he discussed that we needed badly to dredge out the sewage treatment lagoon, that it was way beyond where it should be. So I approached former administration, and it was decided at that time not to do the work that needed to be done. It was expensive. It is expensive. So basically, we've been band-aiding the problem for the last 4 to 5 years. So we've gotten to a point now where we can't band-aid it anymore, and we have to do something. It's become basically a health issue now. So I am meeting with Mr. Zeschke tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. I'm meeting with a gentleman that works with Mr. Zeschke. He doesn't work directly for him. It's an independent company, but works with him sometimes, that does dredging. Mark Simpkins, our wastewater treatment operator, will be there. I will be there. Brian Thomas, our maintenance supervisor, will be there. We're going to discuss what needs to be done to rectify this problem. Long story short, yesterday Roto-Rooter came out. Like I said, the sewage treatment plant, the lagoon is so full with sludge. We were basically just blowing. Roto-Rooter was sending a high-powered hose down there and blowing the sludge out to give us more room to take more sludge, for lack of a better term. And it was basically buying us time, maybe a half a season, maybe like one year it bought us the entire camping season. Last year it bought us a couple months, and we had to do it twice. Every time Roto-Rooter comes out, it's a minimum of about $2,500 to do that. Well, yesterday they were out, and we were trying to put another Band-Aid on, and they couldn't do it. Got their nozzle stuck. $600 nozzle was snapped off. So we discussed at that time, we dropped everything, went down there. It was determined that we can no longer put Band-Aids on this, and that we're going to have to do something serious fairly quick. So that meeting tomorrow will be to discuss cost, basically, and logistics for handling the sludge. And unfortunately, the bad news is the project will probably cost a minimum, or a ballpark around $75,000. Right now, today I was working with IEPA to get the correct permits. We have to apply for a permit for dumping it. I did receive some more bad news late this afternoon from Mr. Zeschke that the Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District is not accepting any wastewater at this time. They are completely full right now. So we are going to have to go to an alternate source. That could be as far away as Springfield, and that's if they will take it. Of course, that's going to mean additional cost, because you're driving further with your semi and your semi drivers. So the other thing Mr. Zeschke did discuss today that we can find possibly farmers to disperse this sludge. Now, there will be oh, I just lost my train of thought. There, with the sludge application on a pasture, obviously you're going to have a permit, a different permit from the IEPA. And I've been working with a lady named Polly, and she's been very helpful. So a couple farmers in the area that possibly might work with us. I've got a call into one. I'm trying to find out the landowner's name of another. And so that's another possible scenario we can do is dump that. But it's lime you have to put over or mix with the wastewater when you put it down. So I think I will know a lot more tomorrow after the meeting. I'd be more than happy to send all of you an email after the meeting tomorrow and let all of you know what has progressed, and we can go from here. I'm getting a bunch of feedback right now. I don't know why. Okay, yeah, sounds like it. But I guess that's about all I can tell you at the moment. Again, I will be more than happy to email everybody a report if need be tomorrow. Like I said, I'm filling out. We're still trying to decide what permits we're going to need from IEPA, and like I said, the lady from in Springfield has been very helpful. It's going to basically be, are we going to take it to a wastewater treatment plant, or are we going to take it to a farmer's field and be able to applicate it on a farmer's pasture? So whatever one we decide, or if we decide we can do both, there's going to be a different permit for each one. So, but I will be working, trust me, diligently to get that taken care of, because like I said, this has become not just a simple problem. I think it's become a health issue when wastewater starts backing up. I would be happy to try and answer anybody's questions if they have any.
Thank you, Mr. Steffa. Appreciate the update on that situation and all of your due diligence going through that process. Any questions from the committee members? Member Johnson?
Thank you. So Mr. Steffa, I know that you're going to send us the email after the meeting tomorrow. Any timeline that you can provide us, I think would be really helpful, because I know this is something that, since it is a health issue, we want to try to take care of it as soon as possible. But if we could just get an estimate about what the time might be, I think that would be nice.
Yes, after that meeting tomorrow, I should be able to pinpoint a little bit better a timeline. I do know Mr. Zeski is extremely busy right now with projects, different projects, but he said he could be willing to work with us to get this done. He knows it's an emergency, basically. So he's worked with us in the past. So I feel confident that we could get this done fairly quick.
Any other questions from the committee? Well, I guess one thing I would say to the committee, I think that this is unfortunately another example that we found, right, in our time we've been together, where we've, especially in the facilities and just general maintenance area, where we put Band-Aids on things and looking to, kick the can down the road. And thankfully we have dedicated staff like Mr. Doherty and Mr. Steffa who are on top of these things. But, long term, when things like this continue to happen, it's going to be at greater stress to the staff, greater cost to the taxpayers. And I think it's going to be important with us moving forward through the capital improvement planning process that's about to kick off for 2021 to, as much as possible, try to get our hands around things like this and begin to plan for them, especially when it comes to routine maintenance, to make sure that our facilities and our buildings and our mechanicals are being held up to the standard that they need to be, right? So that they're functioning properly. Member Frederick?
Mike, can you recall when the last time the lagoon was dredged? Does anybody have that in their mind whatsoever?
June 12th is my 30-year anniversary there. It has never, and I repeat, never been done since I've been there. Is there anything else I can answer?
No, that kind of answers it. Yeah, I think it's kind of past due. So there you go.
I can tell you that when it was built in 74, 75, it was probably built at that time for what was needed. And I think over time, and Mr. Zeski has made this clear, that we're probably 20 years past due, but we are going to try and do some reconfiguration of some piping as well when we do this, because they think there's some piping issues for the inflow to the lagoon. So we're not just going to dredge the thing and say, okay, we're going. We're going to try and make sure we look to the future or the present and the future to make sure this doesn't happen again anytime soon.
Thank you for that. Member Johnston, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
No, I just wanted to say congratulations on the 30 years, Mr. Sefa. That's quite an achievement. And I hope that, I'm not sure what the county does for employees who hit those kind of milestones, but I'm sure whatever it is, it's not enough. So thank you for your service.
Appreciate it, but don't need anything done. I love my job.
Well, we'll get your lagoon cleared out for you. How's that?
Appreciate that.
We'll name it the Mike Steffa Lagoon.
I'll pass on that. No pun intended, by the way.
All right, Mr. Stefan, is there anything else you'd like to share with the committee about what's happening at Cumlara or Parks and Rec?
Nope, just not really. Just hoping everything will be reopened up soon. I realize the beach is not going to open up, but just everything else. It is good to see. We've made friends with what people we call our regular campers. It's great to see them. It's just great to see people and that we know, and things seem like they're starting to get back to, if there is such a thing, normal. So I'm just glad that we got to open that up. So that's all I'll say. I'll shut up now.
Member Friedrich?
Yeah, Mike, last month I was asked if you'd lay a tape down for car traffic, pedestrian traffic, trying to get a count since our numbers were so high. Has that been done? I know you're slam busy with everything else, but I was just curious if you've been able to get a count on the increase that we've seen over the past.
I have not. I apologize, but I have not.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Steffa. Appreciate
Oh, I did have one other thing. I almost forgot. We did get our rental pontoon in, so that will be up and functioning by this weekend. It is being put in the water probably as we speak, so we're excited that we have that addition. Okay, I'm done now.
That's great. For those of you who may be watching at home, there's now a pontoon boat for rental at Cumlara Park. So please come out and rent it often. Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Stefan. Administrator Rodriguez, we are to you in our agenda.
Yay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman Barnett. I do have some items for action this evening. I'll start with item C1A, which is request approval of critical hire requests. Those are detailed to you on page 6 of the packet. It is 2 full-time and 1 part-time custodian. These are night shift employees. And especially in light of the cleanliness required of our facilities during COVID, we are hoping for your approval to fill these positions.
Questions? Motion by Member Smith. Second by Vice Chair Beard. Any questions from the committee or discussion? Okay, well, with that said, all those in favor of approving agenda item C1A, critical hire requests for facilities and custodial staff, please raise your hand. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will move on to item C1B, which is request to approve a reorganization of the facilities department. There is a memo that I hope you reviewed on page 7 of your packet. And in a nutshell, without me reading that to you, county administration is working closely with Mr. Doherty and Mr. Gilbraith to find ways to improve their efficiencies and move staff in such a way that makes sense for the long game, for their goals, and really very congruent with what we started to talk about a couple of months ago when we had our planning session. We're taking baby steps towards that, and both Mr. Doherty and Mr. Gilbraith know that, but I'm excited to at least bring this to you because it's actionable from what we had as a discussion of a couple of months ago. It could have been longer. It feels like a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago. So we're excited to bring it forward, Chairman.
Okay. Looking for a motion from the committee to approve item C1B. Member Johnston, second. Member Thompson. Any questions or discussion from the committee? Vice Chair Beard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate this, and I think both with Ms. Rodriguez, with your work at the health department, some of the reorg efforts you led there, and then stuff like this and what we had talked about, I am always encouraged, I think we all are, when we see the concept of continual improvement and continual adjustment to meet the circumstances and facts on the ground. So I appreciate this, bringing this to us. One question, when we talk about something, and this is just in general, when we talk about something being revenue neutral, especially when the number of FTEs are changing, are we looking at a fully loaded FTE? So when we take into account like pension contributions plus healthcare, are we using that total compensation when we consider to say it's revenue neutral, or are we looking at just like the the paycheck?
I will answer that unless I hear from in the back that I'm incorrect. It does include all of the benefits as well. We always take that into consideration when we're making these decisions, and so it would be inclusive of that.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee or comments? Okay, well, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor of approving agenda item C1B, request approval to reorganize the facilities department, please raise your hand. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you, Chairman and membership. Then I move on to item C1C, which is the consequence of your yes to item C1B. And we have to do a resolution to change the FTE list for this particular department. And that's what this next action is representative of.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve item C1C. Member Smith, second. Member Friedrich, okay. Any questions or discussion from the committee? Ms. Rodriguez, anything else you'd like to share about this agenda item?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. With that said, all those in favor of approving item C1C, request approval of a resolution amending the funded full-time equivalent positions resolution for 2020 for Fund 0001, Department 0041, Facilities Management on pages 8 and 9 of the packet. Please raise your hand if you approve. Okay. Those opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion passes.
If I may, Chairman, then I would just move on to item C2A, which is our report to you on recent employment activities on page 10 of your packet. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the next item of the agenda. Other business or communications to come before the committee. Okay, great. Last item of business for the committee is payment of bills for the month. I have in front of me a bill total that has been approved by the county auditor for a total of $158,487.01, and entertain a motion from the committee to pay bills. Member Thompson, second. Member Friedrich, any questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving payment of bills and transfers, signify by raising your hand. Okay, those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. With that said, we've gotten all the way through the agenda, so the meeting is over. Thank you all for your service to the people of McLean County. Have a good night.